I am here today with Rick and Lori. They're homeowners here in Polk County. Meg Lebeck is with the Housing Assistance Corporation, and they just showed me the work that was done on their home. We're not far from the river. You can't see in the picture, but the Green River is just down the hill here, and it came up right up to their foundation and caused a lot of damage underneath the home. And this is a story of grit. Their grit, they were in there doing the work, but then it was also partnership with nonprofits like the Housing Assistance Corporation. The state has given a few $100,000 to the Housing Assistance Corporation as part of a $16 million investment in about 16 different nonprofits like HAC. There's another 15 or 16 million that's yet to come. That notice of application went out in December, so we're going to put more money out because we know that these nonprofits are really agile. They didn't need their whole house rebuilt here, but they had a few systems that were severely damaged and they needed some help. And it was the nonprofit with volunteers, with their hard labor. The house is now back up and running. So this is how it's going to take. We're going to need to work together. The government, nonprofits, the residents, we all have to work together to try to get Western North Carolina back on their feet. From the state's perspective, we have a housing program too. It's called Renew North Carolina, Renew NC. The application deadline is the end of this month, January 31. It had been the end of last year. We extended it because we've been getting a lot of applicants. More than 7,000 homeowners like Rick and Lori have applied for assistance from this program, and we want more people to apply. We want to help as many folks who are eligible to get the help from the government as they possibly can. We've started moving homes through that process. We've done either a couple dozen are finished or in construction, and there's about 160 that are 1 or 2 steps away from getting into under construction. So there's about to be a whole bunch more housing being addressed through the Renew NC program. But these nonprofits, they're just more agile than government is, and that's why having this partnership really helps us to make an impact on people's lives. We need more help from the federal government. Typically, after a major storm like Hurricane Helene, the federal government will give 40 or 50% of the damages to the affected state to help them get back on their feet. Some states have gotten upwards of 70, 80% of the damages. Our damages were $60 billion here in North Carolina. We've received 11% of that from the federal government. And we will be grateful for every dollar we get from our federal partners, but honestly, we need more. And I'm going to be going to Washington next week to continue to press that case. We are happy to take any questions.
There's been almost no movement since October on the $13 billion or so you guys have requested. What's going to be different when you go up next week in Washington?
Well, all I know is when you're pushing a heavy object, it doesn't happen all at once. You got to put your shoulder to it and push. You got to put your shoulder to it and push. And eventually you see progress. And so we're going up there and we're going to continue to work with our federal partners. Federal government has to appreciate the extent of the damage here and just make sure that we in Western North Carolina get our fair share. Other states that were really damaged, whether it was the Gulf states from Katrina or New York, New Jersey, Connecticut with Hurricane Sandy, our hearts went out to those people when they experienced that kind of pain, and the federal government came to their aid. We need the federal government to come to our aid here in North Carolina.
Governor, can you talk about the issues of politics that inevitably play a part in negotiating for money? You're a Democrat, the Republicans hold the power. President Trump has been here multiple times saying that he and his colleagues will help. What would you say to Republicans in the fact that we're talking about billions of dollars that you're still asking for? It seems like it's like almost a rinse and repeat every time you come and speak asking for funds.
Yeah, well, everybody cares about the folks who live here. And what we have to do is just make sure that we transform that care into action. And that's what I'm going to go up to Washington and press our case. I know that the congressional delegation is supportive of making sure that we're doing everything we can to get the money that Western North Carolina needs. And as I said, we're going to keep making this case until action occurs.
Just a follow-up question. Obviously, you have been doing a lot of touring, showing good stories, positive stories. There are hundreds of people, homeowners, families, who have contacted, some of them WLOS, and I'm sure other TV stations that are covering this, that say they're not getting the help. Have you considered, or your staff considered, talking with these people and having some type of press tour to highlight people that are waiting and are seeing no end in sight for help?
Yeah, none of this moves as fast as it should or as fast as people need. This Renew NC program, the housing program that people can still apply for today, North Carolina, we got that program up and running faster than any state impacted by Helene, faster than any state impacted by a major hurricane in over a decade. So we are moving with urgency, but it's never going to be fast enough. And so we're going to continue doing everything we can to get the money that we receive, whether it's from the federal government or state government, out the door as quickly and effectively as we can.
With the Renew NC program, do you guys have all the hundreds of millions from HUD, or is it a similar reimbursement program?
Yeah, the program I was saying that we got up and running, it's the Renew NC program, and it's federally funded. That was part of the appropriation that Congress did at the end of 2024. That's the only money that has been appropriated for storm recovery. And the CDBG DR, Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery. Those funds were allocated by HUD earlier this year. We've put in our action plan, it was approved. That was what was done faster than any other state impacted by Helene. And the total is about $1.4 billion coming to North Carolina. So we are getting that money out the door. We are writing checks to contractors doing work across the region as we speak.
We've heard from homeowners who have applied for different programs like the Hazard Mitigation Project.
That's right.
And it's still just waiting in DC. What do you say about, do you know where projects like that are on the timeline?
I share the frustration of homeowners. There are a lot of homeowners who weren't as fortunate as Rick and Lori. Their houses, up above the river. There are a lot of homes that were right beside the river and they were washed away. A lot of those people are still paying mortgages on a home that does not even exist. And so there is a program that exists to help those people. It will do a buyout of their property at the value of what the house had been so that they can then take those resources, pay off their mortgage, and start their life somewhere a little bit up the hill. We have submitted as a state about 560 applications of homeowners just like that to FEMA and to Homeland Security, and they have not approved a single one. So these homeowners are just stuck in Neverworld where they still have a mortgage to pay, they don't have a home, and they've raised their hand and said, we want to get out of the flood zone. We don't want to rebuild in a flood zone. And we have to do better. The federal government has to do better.
Excuse me, what has FEMA accomplished?
FEMA has been a partner in many ways on many issues. That's not to say FEMA is perfect by any means. They have been slow to get reimbursements to local governments. A lot of times what FEMA will do is they'll say, a local government will say, we have a lot of debris that we have to get removed, or we have a water system that we need repaired. And they'll give them the approval. Then the local government will do that work, but it costs a lot of money. FEMA exists to reimburse that money, and that process of reimbursement for public assistance has not been as fast as I wish that it were. On the hazard mitigation program, the one that we were just talking about, that's also a FEMA project, a FEMA responsibility. They haven't done anything. So we want more.
I have nothing good to say about FEMA. I mean, they treated us like we were, I don't know, third-class citizens, or I mean, they had put a FEMA trailer, and then they kept coming and wanting us to leave. Said everything was done, we could leave, but everything wasn't done. And I was told I could buy it. I called your office, and you give me a number, and I think Brett Howard
He was
refused,
with FEMA.
to let me buy it.
Well, we can have a conversation to understand better than that, better about that, because that's not the way it should work. It's certainly not appropriate.
That's what I
Unfortunate.
thought.
Yeah.
But I just have nothing good to say about FEMA.
Governor, could you speak to specifically what elected officials you have talked with in Washington so far? Senator Tom Tillis, I believe, has been spearheading work to try to clear some kind of logjam with
Yeah.
hazard mitigation. Are you working with them? Are you going into meetings? Do they have access to President Trump? I mean, at the end of the day, it's perhaps individuals that could help move the needle on some of this. And I know these tours, I don't know if you're making any headway to get money through doing what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I have regular communications with our congressional delegation. I talked to a couple congressmen just on the travel up here today. I talked to U.S. Senator yesterday.
Tillis?
It was Bud. And they've been working very hard to get FEMA to reimburse our local governments for the work that they've already been done, that FEMA, by the way, had approved that they do. And so I appreciate the focus of the congressional delegation. So there are two things. There's one is making sure that the money that has previously been appropriated gets through and out the door and back into communities where it is desperately needed. The second is making sure that we have enough resources to tackle this incredibly massive exercise of rebuilding, and that's where I need everybody to put their shoulder to the wheel. We need more financial assistance from the federal government.
Any last questions?
Why do you feel you have to say this over and over and over again and nothing's changed?
Well,
I mean, I think people at home are just questioning, why? Why is this?
Government is a very difficult machine to move forward. And so we all have to put our shoulders to the wheel. That means that I got to use my voice and go to Washington and ask them to do what they need to do. But everyone watching this, they need to call their representative and encourage them to do what we know they need to do, which is to make sure that North Carolina gets its fair share, that we get enough money to help this area get back on its feet, because we want it to happen as quickly as possible.